Hey, what's up, guys? Today we are going to look at what is Storybook, how a Storybook library can be used to develop different components, and then we will at one point have a set of components that we can use on multiple projects. So if you look at this URL, which is the storefront UI Storybook library, right? What they have done is this storefront is basically a theme which can hook up to multiple e-commerce stores. For example, this theme can be used with Magento, it can be used with Shopify, Vendio, so on and so forth. Okay, it has multiple popular adapters to the which it can adapt to, and you will see basically the same UI. But then what this store also has is a very strong UI library, which means when you want to improvise or you want to change the look and feel of your store or you want to add new features, you have a very strong library with you which you can use quite easily and build your pages. So this is what we are going to see. For example, if you see this thing is divided into atoms, molecules, organisms, templates, and pages. Now, atoms being the most simple form of component, we will see very basic stuff over here. For example, arrows, bullets, button, things like that. Correct? Now let's close this and look at molecules. So add to cart, for example, is a collection of atoms because it is giving me this button along with this widget. And as you can see, this button has three different states. It has the common, it has the disabled like this, and with add to cart slot. Okay. And there are many more stuff. For example, organisms will be a little bigger in size. It will be using multiple components. Banner grid, it has buttons, it has images, whatnot. So, and this is how it continues to grow. A cart, for example, is a template. Okay, it has buttons, it has these things, and many more items. And this is a complete page. So, category is a complete page, right? Now, what takes us in terms of effort to create a library, something very similar for our projects? So what I tend to do is, throughout multiple projects that I do for my company, we tend to develop different kinds of components. And these components become very handy to reuse on other websites if they are done in a way that reusability is taken care of. For example, this if we develop a slider or if example we create a drag and drop interface of something, right? We would like to ensure that in subsequent projects we are very easily able to reuse it and allow the ability to save time and in the end save money or and become more profitable, right? So that's why I feel that Storybook becomes very important. A big introduction, let's just see how we can now develop this. So what I'm going to do is use tsdx. It's a zero config CLI for TypeScript package development. Okay, yes, that's the definition which is said over here. Basically, it gives us a command npx tsdx create and then my library. You can name it anything. I am also naming it mylib. It gives you three templates. One is a basic, okay, then there is a React version and there is a React with Storybook. What I have done is when you execute this command, right, you will be asked to choose a template. I have chosen React with types Storybook because this command may take some time. Okay, so this is the output of what I have done. Now I'll go inside mylib, open this up inside Visual Studio Code, and then let's see what all things do we need to do. Run npm start. Let's look at the package JSON. We will get an idea. So the start is basically running a watch. That's fine. Okay, and then the build will obviously create the final build. But what I have read and I know already is that you also need to run the storybook command. Okay, so we will do that. Let me break it down into smaller chunks. So this is npm run start, which will run the watch. and I'll have npm run storybook, which will run the application on port 6000 of our on our browser. I think it will open up Safari because that's the default one I have still kept. Let me see. Yep, but doesn't matter. So yes, this is the storybook in a very basic form. We have, if you go inside, we have a source folder, we have stories folder. Okay, the distribution is where the build will be created when we do the final build, and this is index.tsx. This is one component which we have created and kept it. Okay, now we would ideally like to create some components. Let me show you one UI library called HyperUI. I have tweeted about it some time back. What we will do is we will take some components from here, for example this alert maybe, and we will try to create a component out of it. Okay, this is just Tailwind CSS based components. We will create a React component for it so that we can use it on our application. So to install React and Tailwind in, rather I already have React, but if we want to install Tailwind inside this, there are some steps that needs to be done. So first let's do one thing, components, and then do alert.tsx. Okay, we'll have to use some structure over here. So to start with, why don't we go into HyperUI and first of all copy this entire thing. Okay, and we will create, okay, before that let's create a component, because what happens is there is a little bit of difference in the way we write our component in this. So I'll show you that first. So we'll have export constant alert. I'll have props over here. We will destructure the props later, but okay, let's first get basic things in place maybe. Okay, export is happening. Okay, and I need to import React as well. This is not next where React will be automatically visible. So this is done. And now let me first copy paste the entire component markup. Take this, come over here and just do this. I just need one. Okay, I'll undo, go to this, and why don't we copy only the success one, paste it. The class becomes class name because that's how React will understand it. Okay, now we will have to make certain kinds of changes over here so that we are able to make it reusable. So the first thing which I'm going to do is, let's just say we have message of type string. Okay, destructure it, and I am going to get rid of everything that is here. I'll have some space and then do this. This is much more an elegant way of showing it instead of those two different curly braces. And now what I'm going to do here is, see, the component is kind of ready. Okay, the component can be now shown on the UI, but then if we go to our storybook thing, which is Safari, we don't see that. Why? Because as of now it doesn't know that, right? So we will have to do something over here inside stories. Let's have alert.stories.tsx. Let's steal a little bit of thing from here. Okay, I'll need to import source components alert. Okay, what I'm gonna import over here is alert, and okay, I need to export the props as well because the props is going to be important. Let's see how they have exported the props. Example, no, this is not the one. Example is not the one I'm looking for. Source index. Export interface props. Okay. So maybe what I can do over here is inside our alert also I'll do export interface props and then it becomes available to me. This is important because you'll understand that later on when we define all the props inside our story, right? Then we will be able to get the documentation that what all things are available. Okay. Then we create a variable called meta. Okay, of type meta. Meta is coming from Storybook React. We pass a title over here, which is, let's just say, atoms slash alert, or maybe I don't know whether it becomes a molecule. I think it's an atom because it doesn't consist of any other component. We define which component we want to add stories for. So this is going to be our alert component, and that's about it right now. We export the meta. Okay, and then what we do over here is, if you let's keep referencing the other components, what they have done is they have created a template. Okay, and they have made it as type story with props, and then they have passed all the arguments inside this component, something like this, right? So we will follow the same structure. What we are going to do is we are going to create a constant called template, which is of type alert. I don't want alert like that. Alert, and then props equals, we get the and a function args, and then we get the component as well. And what we do is we pass the args. Okay, just bear with me because you will understand why I'm doing this very soon. It is complaining. Why is it complaining? Okay, I think it should be of type story, right? Right, it is of type story, and then we paste the component. So my bad. Okay, so what I'm doing is the template is of type story. You're sending the props, okay, and then we are rendering the component. Fill. Now let's see if we are able to see our alert over here. Still we don't. I Now let's try and do a default, and then we get our atom, which is this. Fair enough. This is not going to work because I haven't sent the message, which I should have done. So message is, hi, how are you? Should have refreshed as well, and it doesn't. And I wonder, okay, so yeah, the bind is fine. Default dot args is an object where I think message, that's how is passed, right? Yes, default dot args. So if I do this, can you see now it is changing? So our alert is visible, although it looks horrible because the tailwind is not configured. We will do that, but can you see that this is also available message, and I can do hello world as well. Why? Because this is a React component which I have loaded inside this canvas of Storybook, and I can control every behavior that is possible. Okay. Now the question is, how do we install Tailwind? So let me do one thing. First of all, we'll copy this, close Safari, and go to my Chrome so that I have one less browser to deal with, and then do Tailwind CSS. Let's go over here. I need to get started, and then npm install Tailwind CSS. Let's wait for that. I know I need to also get the post CSS, so I'll do post CSS, and there's a link which I will need to refer because this is what is the process of installing Tailwind. So this I'll mention it in the description box. So once we have added the Tailwind, right, we add the post CSS. We create a post CSS config. So let's quickly create that file. Oh, by the way, I haven't done the init of the Tailwind configuration file. So let me also do that. Right, touch this file name. Oops, why am I getting confused with the different applications which are running? So right, so we have our Tailwind config. Let's go over here, get this inside our post CSS config. I know there is some configuration required inside Tailwind as well. I'll have to get that. But before that, we should follow this. So inside Storybook folder, there is a main.js, which is this. Inside the add-ons, we need to add this configuration. Okay, and just remove the comments. This is done. And then it says there is a style.css. Okay, so inside source, I have a file called style.css. I need to add these directives inside this file, and then inside my preview.js, which is again inside the storybook folder, right, I need to import this file that I just created as a CSS file. Now even then I don't think my Tailwind will load up because I don't think it understands. Anyways, I'll have to reload it, but before that what I should ideally do is tell Tailwind where to look for the different classes inside my code structure. So inside my Tailwind config content, right, I'll do .src, then star star dot oops, and then I will define all the files which I'm interested in. So JS I'm interested, comma JSX, TS, TSX. Let's keep this simple and start. The watch should start in a bit, and the storybook should start as well. And if I'm lucky and everything is done correctly, then we will see our component in a little stylized manner. Let's see. Oops. I think now it is working, but for some reason the other styles, right, are not coming, which is a bit strange because ideally it should have. I'm not able to understand. So style.css, this is fine. It is using the styling from here. Excel, if I do Excel and I refresh, okay, this doesn't change, which is a little weird. Wonder what could be the problem. So my styles file is inside the source directory, which is correct. No problem there. If I do to Excel, okay, did something over here, created a build, but my font size is not increasing. which means the tailwind is not working properly. And is it because my bad? It's a 8 instead of a star. How silly. Now I think it should work because it was not able to detect the basic styles and hence it was failing. Now argument to string. Okay, these are strange kind of stuff which maybe I can ignore right now. I don't know. Storybook started and yes, I was able to see my component in its proper style. Now, quickly, let's understand how do we change the behavior. So for example, I would like to ideally send a type to my component so that I can define whether it is a warning or an alert or even what is it, info. Okay, so let's quickly look at it. So we have this, which is success. The yellow one I think is warning. Then we have an alert, red one, and then info. Correct. So what we can do is maybe I'll close out everything and go inside my component alert. I have a variant, something like this. I'll say this is optional. I should have a success. These are enum variables, so info. So what does that mean? This means that I can have only these kind of variants, and then I can say that variant is by default info, right? Okay, yes, I'm going to use it. Don't worry about it. And it was previously at SM, so let's do that. And now let's understand how the color is changing. So in here, P4, P4, border, all these things are constant. Border, rounded, yes. What is basically changing is text amber, text red, BG amber, border, right? So maybe there is a case for us to do something like constant button classes is an array, okay, of right now let's just say any. I'm basically trying to create an array of different keys. uh, this is going to be name, success, and style will be, I think this is fine. Okay, maybe it's complaining because interface I button. Okay, name is a string and style is a string, something like this, and I make it I button. Okay, and then or maybe I button class. I button only refers to a type, but it's being used as a value. Oh, yes, yes, yes. My bad. Small mistake, which can create a lot of problem. So first of all, the success will have border rounded. That's all fine. This hmm, text green 700 space these two classes. Okay. Similarly, I will have for rest of the things. So okay, so I have this array of button classes where success has this style, warning has this style, alert has this, and info has this. Now, definitely we want to first detect which style we want to apply. So maybe what we can do is constant styling is any, okay, equals button classes dot find. Okay, I'll try to find classes. Okay, and this is going to, how does the format work? So if I have a find method where I can do something like this and say return only the one where classes dot name, yes, equals my variant. I think I can even do a triple equals to. Okay, and then so now this styling is ready with me, correct? What I will do is this text green goes away, border remains here, and these two classes goes away. I'll take this entire thing into a template string. Okay, and then first stick those and then do styling, right? With this in place, I think now my storybook component should, okay, it lost every styling there is, which is a bit strange because by default it should have picked info. If I do success, obviously nothing is going to happen. Styling dot, I think it is going to be I button class. Something is not right, and I'm trying to just understand what it could be. Let's keep it as any, and then it should return me an object, and hence it should show something like this. Right, it is warning, alert, and info. So as you can see, what basically is happening is I'm able to see all the states of my component. Okay, let me clear everything out and load Storybook once more. So what is happening is this component in its basic form, okay, based on the docs, right? This is the show code for this component. Message is this. Now, if I want to do success, this is how I need to use the component. If I want to do warning, this is how I need to use the component. So can you see how beautiful this doc has become? You can do literally anything. You can play around with it, say something went wrong, warning or alert, and your component is ready. So there are a lot more things that we can do. One last thing which I would like to show you before we can stop this video, because it has already been quite a long one, which is inside the stories, right? I have the ability to define multiple states to a story. By that, what I mean is, let's just say this is my default. Why don't we create one more called warning? Okay. The message continues to be, let's say, or we can change it actually. Something, let's say, your account has expired. Okay. And the variant is going to be warning. Okay. So let's do that. Now this cannot be default. This has to be warning. And can you see? This is my default. Let's load that again. Okay, this is my default story. This is my warning. It says your account has expired. And in this variant of this component, right, you can see that the message is different. The variant is different. Inside default, the message is different. The variant, nothing is selected. So that's the beauty of creating Storybook library, where you are able to control everything in terms of how your component looks inside a canvas, and then very clearly define what are the different states which are available. Okay, so yes, that's about it, guys. That's how we use Storybook. Since I have started using it, I am very excited about creating those reusable components because it allows me to ensure that throughout different projects we are able to extract some reusable code and then ensure that we are able to use them on different projects. And that's how I plan to increase my productivity, right? So do let me know what you think about Storybook, how you feel that it can, whether it can, improve your productivity, your reusability of code and components. And if you have any interesting use case, then do share with me. Like this video and comment with your feedback. Thanks for watching.